Hi, welcome to Girl Bent. Today we are so excited to interview Wael. I'm Najla Bouden and we're joined by our other team member, Reem. Hey, Reem.
Hi.
Yeah, and today we're going to be interviewing Wael, who is a political science student at the American University of Beirut, but is originally from Tunisia. And he is going to be sharing with us about the current situation that has been occurring in Tunisia the last couple months. So we wanted to ask, what is sort of the political climate that's been occurring for the past couple months in local Tunisian communities and also within the parliament?
So Tunisia has been living for 3 months now a series of decisive events that have shaped an unprecedented social and political landscape. It all started on the 25th of July, the day of the Republic in Tunisia, where thousands of hundreds of Tunisians took it to the streets in different regions of the country to protest on the economic and social crisis the country has been facing since the Tunisian Revolution in 2011. But also they were there to protest the effectiveness of the government, and behind it, all the parties in rule dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. So the protests on the 25th of July escalated to clashes between police and civilians who targeted local offices of, for example, Ennahda party across the country. And in response to this series of protests that took place in different parts of the country and even took place before the 25th of July, the Tunisian president, Saied, dismissed the prime minister, Hisham Shishi, and suspended all the activities of the assembly of the representatives of the people for 1 month by invoking emergency powers from Article 80 of the Tunisian constitution. After that, on September 22nd, Saied announced decision 117 or 117, which is a very, very important decision to highlight. This decision effectively establishes a new constitutional order in Tunisia in which the president has granted himself extraordinary power and decision-making authority even above the constitution. Decision 117 granted the president the potential of the change of Tunisia's constitution and the transformation into a presidential regime, which means through this decision, he could make whatever decision, even if it's not based on the constitution. He also named Najla Bouden as a prime minister, who is, by the way, the first Arab woman to hold such position. Najla Bouden formed her government with 40% of women representativeness and started officially in position early this week. So basically, this is what has been happening in Tunisia for the last 3 months.
Okay, that's a lot, but thank you so much for giving us so much details because it is really interesting what is going on. And as you mentioned, there is now the first female prime minister in the Arab world, I believe, right now. So
yes.
Yeah, and interesting kind of to hear what is sort of the people's reaction to her now coming into place.
Exactly. So when it comes to the popular response, as soon as Saied announced his measures, there was celebrations on the street across the country with cheers, songs, car honks, and even fireworks. What happened on the night of the 25th of July was truly unprecedented. Personally, it reminded me of some of the celebrations that took place during the 2011 revolution, when the ex-president and dictator Ben Ali escaped the country. Public squares that were filled in the morning of 25th of July with tear gas and like violent clashes turned into a space of joy and celebration at night. Even though no one could see where the country was heading, nor actually explain the announced measures, people felt a kind of relief from the rule of the parties in parliament and the government of Hisham Mishishi, who was supported by Nahda. That was from a popular sphere, but as from a political sphere, the ruling coalition that included Nahda, Tilaf al-Karama, and Qalb Tunis, the three parties who had the majority in the parliament, they expressed their extreme opposition and non-acceptance of the decisions and the decisions of Saied, and considered it as a coup d'etat, as it says in French, and the violation of the constitution that actually does not give Saied the authority to suspend the parliament, as they would claim.
I want to know more about, so you said that there were like two phases when it came to the president's like decisions. The first one after like the one where he gave the month. Okay, I want to know, how did people reflect on this kind of decisions? Because like there were two phases, the first one and the second one. The first one seemed to please people a little bit, but then the second one came and it was a little bit meh. What do you think? In like your opinion, how did people actually reflect on both phases?
So since July 25th, when Saied first stepped in and took the measures, he kept taking exceptional measures, and thus more opposition has been uprising. For example, on September 26th, several thousand demonstrators rallied in the capital, Tunis, to protest against Said's seizure of power and calling on him to step down from power. On October 10th, after the decision 117 was released and announced, a bigger number of protesters gathered up in response to the decision. The anti-Saied demonstrators called against what they considered a coup and the stepping down of the president. But still, Saied still has a wide support among Tunisians who are tired of corruption and poor public services, and they actually claim that Saied is a clean president, and he is a clean president, and they actually trust him and trust in his good intentions. The rising number of protesters from both camps raised the possibilities of Tunisia's political division and the street confrontations between rival camps. Although no violent confrontations have been observed, tensions between the two camps are getting more and more serious in the streets.
Let's move it a little bit to the daily life, to the street scene.
Mm-hmm.
There is too much action happening right now. You have this group and that group. Those people agree, these people disagree. How do you think it's affecting on the daily Tunisian life, like on the people just working and going on with their days and their lives?
Honestly, since you brought this up, I want to highlight something that is how media has framed what happened in Tunisia. So maybe some people in foreign countries, if they open the TV and watch the news and read for example, the title that a military coup has happened in Tunisia, they would think of it as a military coup with arms and like violent clashes. But honestly, the day right after the decisions were announced, nothing has changed in the daily life of Tunisians. On the contrary, like there was the institutions and the administrations kept working normally. Daily life of Tunisians kept going on normally without anything to be observed. And maybe what has affected the most the life of Tunisians is the uprising number of protestations and manifestations that have been taking place each Sunday since the July 25th decisions. So basically, the daily life hasn't been very affected by what happened.
Well, that is a relief to hear that there is somewhat normalcy going on in daily life. Where do you see Tunisian politics heading in the future, or is it too hard to tell right now what is going to happen?
Honestly, I don't know if I have a proper answer to your question, because the Tunisian people is tired from the old regime. And since 2011, the country has been drawn into one of its worst eras. The people refuse to accept to have the same people who stole their money and killed their hopes to remain in power. But also, the same people who fought for the Tunisian revolution and the demolishment of dictatorship and fought for democracy should be always remembered. What I mean is, there is no way to step back to dictatorship and one-man rule. This isn't what we fought for. President intends to make major changes, which means changing the current presidential parliamentary regime because it has been blocking the country since 2011. He is planning surely to make new electoral system and to make reforms, and I guess a new political party laws. But the question is there a stepping back to dictatorship? I don't think someone can answer you like objectively at this specific moment, and I'm thinking we all should wait.
No, I mean, that makes sense. And that's very interesting. And we'll definitely be keeping an eye on the events that take place in Tunisia. I think at this time, we've answered all our questions. I'm not sure if there's anything else you'd like to add, Wael.
I would like to say that we shouldn't all believe what is being pictured in media, and rather try to look for objective sources. Tunisia is living one of its most, I'd say, interesting eras in history, and I really hope for the best for our dear country.
And we do too, for sure.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's a powerful message you said at the end. That's very true. And Tunisia is, you know, really unique, and it's really interesting watching, you know, the history of what happens in the country, especially right now. So definitely we'll be keeping an eye on it.
Thank you so much, Lara. Thank you so much, Reem. It has been a very big pleasure for me to meet you and to talk about this topic. Thank you.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. And thank you, because like we really needed this. Just like what you said, we need someone from the heart of the street to tell us what's actually happening. So this has been very, very, very eye-opening for us here in Garibin. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Same from me. Thank you so much, Wael, for taking the time to speak with us.